Guys, welcome to the Unsalesperson. That's sales for the rest of us. Um, for those of you who are professional salespeople, you will probably get a tip or trick or two out of this. For the rest of us, this is going to help us get into something that we're mostly uncomfortable with. Sales itself is much maligned, and in many cases, rightfully so. People don't like salespeople. If you ask someone what they want to be when they grow up, nobody says, I want to be a salesperson. In fact, according to this 2018 Gallup Forbes poll, salespeople just are a little bit better than Congress people in terms of what people think they have honesty and ethical standards. Now, that says car salespeople, but we're going to allow them to be the representative for all salespeople here. When you think of salespeople, what are you guys thinking of? You know, when I was thinking of salespeople earlier on in my career, I'm thinking of this guy. All right, this is the incomparable Danny DeVito. He's the used car salesman. He's going to do whatever he has to do to get you into that car no matter what. That's not what we want to be. Unfortunately, when we get forced into selling, this is the example we think of when we start to pretend to be this guy. Don't be this guy. When we start talking to someone and they feel like they're being sold to, they start thinking of this guy. And we want to avoid that. That is a bad representation of what this really should be. And the truth is this: great salespeople aren't known as salespeople. They're known as something else. They're the owner, the executive, the tech. Talk to my insurance agent. She's going to take good care of you. Yeah, she's in insurance, but she's also in sales, and nobody had to say sales. Go see my guy at the dealership. They'll put you in the right direction. Talk to my guy at this store. Talk to my friend over here. Each of these people got referred as great salespeople, but we never used the word sales. And that's why you see so many people in a sales role who have alternative titles. I'm a consultant, I'm an account manager, I'm a territory rep. We're trying to distance ourselves from this guy. So, who am I? I'm an unsalesperson just like you. I'm an unlikely entrepreneur. I have my business coaching practice, Next Level, and I help my clients with their sales training, with their profitability, with their struggles. I own Master Tech Environmental in North Jersey. This is boots on the ground guys that do remediation of mold and trauma scene and virus. I have to go into people's houses and write the scope of work and the proposal and sell the job. And with a partner, I own the franchise. We're franchising this across the United States. We've got to sell this to franchisees, convince them that our system is the right one for them. And then when they do join our team, they come to our training and we spend an entire day working on sales with them. These are smart, technically proficient, educated, and motivated people, but they're not salespeople. So we got to get them over their fear and loathing of sales. We got to teach them that this is not a used car lot. And we do that every month, every week. So I'm going to share some of that stuff with you guys. I don't have a huge amount of time, and I could talk for days on this subject, and I won't. But here's some of the things that we're going to touch on and go over, some in more depth than others. So we're going to start off with, why is sales even needed? Why can't we just be good at what we do, have a good product, and just don't need sales because we hate it? We're going to create a client avatar. We're going to talk about how that's done because, listen, that's marketing. But if we do this right, if we understand who our client is, everything else gets easier. Our marketing, our advertising, our sales. We're going to do a sales funnel, which is a plan to make sure that we get the right amount of stuff into our system so we can get the sales at the bottom we need. It's also a really good accountability tool. We're going to talk about customer type recognition, what type of people we're going to run into when we're selling, how to speak to them in a way so they don't feel like we are that used car salesman from a couple slides back. And we're going to go over a simple sales process if we have time, and then a couple things that have changed now that we're in a COVID-19 pandemic type situation. After 19, we're going to have COVID 20 and 21. So we got to start thinking about how that's going to change how we do what we do. All right. So why is sales even needed? Why can't we just be good at what we do? I'm going to start with a quote: shoot the engineer and ship the product. And that's anonymous, but I'm quite sure that was uttered by a salesperson or a sales manager who was frustrated with the engineer, wanted to get that thing perfect, and had to do another redo and a redo. And the salesperson's like, good enough, let's just go. And I'm not picking on engineers. If there are any engineers here today, I apologize. But there's a stereotype about engineers in that they think if they create something perfect product or a process, there's no need for sales because anybody who sees it is going to analyze it and measure it and compare it, and they're going to recognize that it's a great thing. But most of us don't have that ability. We're not engineers. The engineers have the curse of knowledge. They think everybody thinks about the world the way they do. But the truth is, you can build the perfect thing and put it on a shelf, and it's going to get dusty because all the salespeople in the world are going to sell something else that's not quite as good, but that everybody knew about. Let's go further. You're a doctor, you're a lawyer, you're an architect. You went to school for 4, 6, 8, 12. I don't know. I'm not as smart as these people. I don't know how long they went to school. But you go to a 7 a.m. networking meeting. If you've been there, there's a lawyer in the corner telling you about family law and why it's important to have a custody agreement. There was no, hey, you're going to have to sell your lawyerly skills someday. So here's how you network or sell. So this applies to professionals as well. All the TV shows I've never seen didn't have an architect at a chamber event telling people why they should hire him or her as an architect. But they're there. Sales is a part of it, whether we wanted to or not. So why is it like this? Why do we have to sell? Why can't we just be good, hang up a shingle, and wait for people to find us? Maybe back in village days, back in the Old West, when there was 10 of us in a dusty little town and there was the lawyer or the doctor, you could do that. It didn't matter if you needed real estate law or a litigator or slip and fall. You had one choice. There was no competition. But we don't live there anymore. We live in a relatively wealthy, educated, super population dense portion of the country where there are 1,200 other people that do exactly what you do, maybe not as good, but they're going to get in front of that potential client before they ever find you. So that's why this portion is necessary, as distasteful as it may be, as tough as it may be, because we're not natural salespeople. This is something that we need to do, and we got to get serious about it. All right, enough stage setting. Let's get into it. Again, doesn't matter. Are you a professional? Are you a graphic designer? Are you selling supplies, services? You've got a cleaning service. You've got a taxi. It doesn't matter what you're doing. When you started it, you had some expertise in what you did, or you had a plan. And then what happens is you start moving, you start going. The first couple of weeks are really exciting. The next couple of months are pretty cool. And then all of a sudden the phone stops ringing and the money's running out and we panic. I know I did, because I need to make this work. I've got people that are counting on me. I've invested a lot in this. If I don't get sales going, I'm going to fail, and I don't want to fail. Slow down. We're going to make a plan. One of the first things that we do is we start throwing things out there. Let's create a Facebook page. Let's go to some networking events. Let's print up 8,000 business cards and just give them to everybody we meet. And the problem with that is we're starting with an external solution without a plan. We are just throwing things into the wind. Remember, there's lots of people doing what we're doing, and everybody's shouting, hey, look at me. This is what I do. We're going to get lost in the sauce. So we need to make a plan. Now, this plan can take days, weeks, and months, and big companies spend billions of dollars figuring these things out. But we're unsalespeople. We are entrepreneurs. We are small and medium-sized companies, so I'm going to keep it simple. The two things we got to start out with is we got to understand our company, our service, our product, what makes us unique. The experts call that the unique sales proposition, or USP. You can spend a lot of time on that, and it's worthwhile. Talk to your coach, talk to your score coach, talk to your business coach, talk to your marketing expert about that. But essentially it is, what's unique and special about what you do and provide? More importantly than that, who is our ideal client? Who is the person that we really want to speak to? Because if you're shouting into the wind, nobody's going to hear you. But if I go up to one person and whisper in their ear, and it's the right person, I might get that sale. All right, so we're going to jump into creating an avatar. Now, creating an avatar is that amalgam, that average of your perfect client. If we could create them out of clay, that's that client avatar. And big companies spend big dollars figuring out who their client avatar is. Now, if you're Google or Amazon, you can spend billions of dollars branding yourself, but you don't have billions of dollars, and neither do I. And honestly, you've heard the name of my company twice, the coaching, Next Level Operations, and none of you remember it, and none of you should, because nobody cares. If you're going to hire me, you're going to hire Eric Green because you trust that guy, not because of the branding that I put into a company that even my mother doesn't know the name. All right. So what can we learn from the big companies that are spending all this time figuring out their client avatars and branding? All right, let's do some examples. I'm going to start with coffee. Coffee's huge. You make it at home, it's in the restaurants, almost everybody loves it. In the United States alone, 150 million people are drinking 3 cups a day. It's big business. In our area, specifically Northern New Jersey, if you guys are here, we've got 2 big players in that space, Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. You guys have seen them. They're on every other corner. They're never on the same corner, which is important, but they're in the same neighborhoods in different places and spaces, and they're both really successful. At the heart of it, they both do the same thing. They sell coffee. That's it. We sell coffee. But they're very different. And if I asked you guys what your favorites were, everybody would have a definite opinion. You might say, listen, I love this one. This one's my favorite. And when I ask you why, you're going to say, because I prefer their coffee. And that's true as far as it goes. But if that's all there was to it, I would have nothing else to talk about here, and trust me, I do. So we're going to do a little experiment. I'm going to ask for Susanna's help on this, monitoring the chat. We're going to think about all the people we see in these stores. If you've been in a Dunkin' or you've been in a Starbucks, you've seen the people there. And I want you to kind of get a general sense in your head of who they are. I'm going to trot out some stereotypes. I'm going to describe some people. And I want you guys to jump in the chat, and you're going to give me one answer for each person I give you. It's either Dunkin' or Starbucks, meaning this person's a Dunkin' client or this person's a Starbucks client. And I'm going to stereotype, and I know this is a politically divisive time, so let's just keep it to coffee, guys. All right? I'm going to give you some. This is the first one. Susanna, once you have a few, tell me what the trend is, one way or the other. I've got a 24-year-old web designer. He's got his laptop, and he's tapping away. He's got his skinny jeans. He's got his glasses on. Is he in a Starbucks or in a Dunkin'?
I'm getting an overwhelming Starbucks answers.
Overwhelming Starbucks. All right, guys. Thank you. All right, next one. I'm going to trot this one out. It's a little bit tougher. See how you do. I've got a 42-year-old HVAC contractor. He drives a Ford pickup. He's got a Carhartt jacket. He's got a big bushier beard, more like Marty's, not like mine. Mine's still a little tight. And he's going to get his first coffee of the day. Where's he going?
I get overwhelming Dunkin' Donuts.
Overwhelming Dunkin'. Okay. Here's some of the divisive stuff, guys. Keep it to coffee. I've got an older gentleman who's walking into his coffee shop. He's got a red hat on it, and it says, "Make America Great Again." Is he walking into Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Oh, I've got Dunkin' and I've got 7-Eleven and I've got a McDonald's.
And a McDonald's. Okay. So McDonald's and 7-Eleven coming in at the last turn, but Dunkin' Donuts ahead. Last one, guys. This is a young 19-year-old. She's got really cute shoes. She's wearing a rainbow shirt. It says LGBTQ on the front. Is she walking into Starbucks or Dunkin'?
I'm getting Starbucks.
You're getting Starbucks. Okay. So I'm going to remind you guys that we have no idea how these people like their coffee. If they like it iced, if they like it hot, black, with milk, without, we don't know. All we know is what they look like. And I can tell you something. Dunkin' and Starbucks know it too. And you're never going to see this in their advertising. You're never going to be an advertisement that says, "Hey, are you into Make America Great Again? Come to Dunkin'." They would get murdered. It's not going to happen. Starbucks is never going to have that same advertisement on the other side, but they spend billions and billions of dollars placing their stores where they know their client avatar is, how they name the stuff, how they price it, where they put it on the shelf, what else they sell, who they hire. the colors of the chairs, the floor, the layout, you name it, it's all designed to attract their person. Because if it was just about coffee, they wouldn't be spending all that time and money. And you guys wouldn't have been able to know who was going in what store. So this client avatar, this branding that we don't even see on a billboard or on a TV ad or on a radio ad is very real. What can we take away from that? All right, let's shrink it down again. Let's make it you and me at a networking event. You've been to those, right? So I go to a networking, the very first one I ever went to. I talked to a guy who worked for an alarm company, fire alarms, smoke alarms, burglar alarms. And I'm trying to be a good networker. I'm trying to, show him that I'm a good dude. And I asked him, hey, what's a good referral for you? Who should I tell about you? And he looked me square in my face and he said, you can tell anybody who has something precious that they want to keep safe that I'm their guy. And then he got up and walked away. It was like a mic drop. And at first I'm like, wow, that was really cool. Like this guy has left nobody off the table because everybody has something precious. And I was impressed for like 30 seconds. And then I thought, what am I going to do with that? How am I supposed to help this guy? Everybody has something precious. Am I going to walk down the street and find somebody who's just walking down? And I was like, do you have something precious? Here, call my alarm guy. That's creepy. Don't do that. So what he tried to be was everything. And to me, he became nothing. That's knowing your client avatar. When I go into marketing now for Master Tech and I go into a room that's filled with people that are on the consumer and residential end, and they ask me who I should be referred to, I tell them, get me your real estate agents, get me your real estate attorney, get me anybody who's involved in that process. Everybody knows a real estate agent. Some people know an attorney, but it's actionable, it's specific, and I know those people are going to care about what I can do. That's how we employ that. That's how we employ that information and use it. For marketing, it's huge. If you know who you're aiming at and who your client is, where they live, what they like, you don't have to send out 1,000 postcards. You can send out 100. You don't need to advertise to 1 million people. You can advertise to 10,000. Once you start selling and you get in front of somebody and you know your client avatar, if they're not it, you can disengage. Save your time. If they are, you know to invest. If you go into a room of 50 people, you know who you're looking for. And that's huge. So that's why it's important. If you guys take nothing else away from today, I hope you take this. How do you do it? How do we sit down and figure out who our client avatar is? All right, it's a little bit of a process, but it's not that hard. If you've been in business more than 6 months, a year ideally, you've got the data. Here's what you do. Start with making a list of your top 10 clients. And you can define that any way you want. That can be your top dollar clients, the ones that brought you the most revenue. This could be your big profitable clients, the ones that you're actually making more in the back end. It could be your favorite, the easiest. However you want to do it, sit down with your team, your accountant, your QuickBooks, your CRM, your book, your schedule, and pick out the top 10. What we're going to do is we're going to list them. You can do it on a whiteboard. You can do it on an Excel spreadsheet. I'm a geek who loves an Excel spreadsheet, so here's mine. This is the one that I did really in the beginning when I started having Master Tech in North Jersey, and I changed some of the names here to protect the innocent. But what we did was we picked out our top 10 who were a scale of 9 or 10 on the easy meter, 9 or 10 being easy. And what we started seeing was our top 10 clients all came from the same 3 referral sources. They were either real estate referrals, networking, or Google Ads. We started seeing that the mold jobs that we do brought us more revenue than the water mitigation jobs. And we started looking at time and everything else. The towns got to be interesting. They seemed similar. And then we recognized how many of them were in Morris County. And we started spending a lot more time focusing on Morris County, on mold, for those 3 sources. And it made a big difference. You're going to see threads. You're going to ask questions that are particular to your business, your industry, your field. And if you're not sure what to ask, I'm sure there's a score coach who can help you. I'm sure there's a marketing expert who can help you. And sit down and spend a few minutes going over, where's my trends here? Flip it around, do your bottom 10. Who are your worst clients, the ones you hope you never see again? that if they came into the room, you'd run screaming. You'd pay them not to work for them again. What do they have in common? You'll figure it out. And then that will give you a to-don't list. I don't want to market through this venue with this message to this area because these clients make me want to scream. And that's huge too. Guys, I'm going to give you a couple more examples on this and then we'll move on, but I think it's important. I'm just going to hammer this nail a couple more times. I did this with a manufacturing client. They do home goods, things you would see inside a home. They manufacture it in the United States. They sold to retail all throughout the Midwest. Some dealers were knocking it out of the park, just killing it. And some of them that seemed to be in the same areas weren't selling half of what the big dealers were doing. So we did the client avatar top 10. And we asked all the questions and how many salespeople and how big are their showrooms and what else did they sell and all of those questions. And what it came down to was that we realized the top 10 all displayed the same 2 items on the showroom floors. At first, we didn't know what that meant. We just knew there was a correlation. So we went to our 11 through 20s and we said, all right, guys, we want you to put this stuff on the floor. And if they said no, we gave it to them for free. In 18 months, 9 out of 10 of those next 10 had an average 11% increase in sales. Just because we recognized what was sitting on the floor was making a difference, and we never would have thought of it any other way. And so we did this. Last example, and then I'll let you guys move on. You guys are familiar with Trader Joe's, right? Supermarket chain, really popular. People love them. They're not big. They're not like 150,000 square foot. They're a little bit smaller. They do a different clientele. I live in Mount Arlington. We had a Pathmark in Jefferson, and when that closed up, everybody's like, we should get a Trader Joe's over here. And I got to tell you, they're not coming. They're not coming to Jefferson, and here's why. Now, some of this is apocryphal, but I'm pretty sure it's true. It came from a good source. Trader Joe's had a really good client avatar, and they defined it as one person. This is a college or university professor. He drives a used Volvo. They updated that to a Prius later on. He can drive a Prius too. He's socially conscious. If he had kids or she had kids, they're grown and they're gone. They're not buying $400 worth of groceries once a week. They're going in 2 to 3 nights a week. They want to eat well. They want to eat fresh. I think that's somebody else's marketing piece, but you know what I mean. They're going in there and they're trying to get some good, cheap produce. They're not the apple and banana set. They're looking for star fruit and dragon fruit and that cool stuff. So when they put a store in an area and it's very controlled growth on their side, they're making sure that that guy would live there. If you go in their store, you're not going to see that guy. If they only relied on that one guy, they would go out. But if they aim at that guy, they're going to hit everybody around that guy who's got something in common with him. And if they have something in common with that college professor, they're going to have something in common with Trader Joe's. They're going to go there and they're going to love it. And that's been driving them. And they don't want to sell the big stuff. They're good in their niche. They're making their money. All right, I'm going to move on. I could talk about this all day, but we're going to move on to something that's a little bit more actionable in sales. All right? So this is the sales funnel or the sales pipeline. If you are a business owner, you're a sales manager, you're a salesperson, this is an indispensable tool. And this tells us if we're doing what we should to get the money dropping out the bottom that we need. I'm going to make the math real simple, guys. I'm going to assume that you need $50,000. And I put it down the bottom because it's at the bottom of the funnel. All right. I need $50,000 at the end of the year from my sales. All right. Well, how many sales do I need to get to 50,000? If my average sale is $1,500, kind of hinky here. My average sale is $1,500. I'm going to need anywhere between 34 and 36 jobs, 34 and 36 clients, 34 and 36 completed sales at $1,500 average to get my 50,000. 34 times 1,500 is 51 grand. Now I could call up 34 friends and just tell them, hey, I need you to buy $1,500 worth of stuff for me. And if I could do that, that'd be great. I'd be done, but it's not going to happen. So I either need to get people into my store or I need to get people who want a proposal from me. And not everybody who comes in my store, not everybody who asks for a proposal buys. So there's an equation here. That's why the funnel gets a little bit smaller. My proposals, my butts in stores does not equal my sales. Now I'm going to assume here, again, we're keeping the math simple, 50% landing ratio, 2 to 1. For every proposal, I'm going to get one sale. Now, you experts out there know that's a hard number to hit. That's a good number. If you're hitting every other one, you're doing pretty good. But give me a pass. I'm keeping the math simple. And two, if you're working the client avatar, you're already talking to people who are predisposed to love and like what you got. So you're not casting it out there into the mist. How many proposals do I need? At 2 to 1, I need 68 at least to get my number. How about leads? Leads are the calls, people knowing that I exist, form submissions, anything that makes people know that I'm there. And I need a lot of those to actually get people in the store. I need a lot of those to get people to actually ask me for a proposal. So those, probably 3 to 1, maybe more. But again, we're keeping the math simple. So at 205 leads, that'll give me my 68 proposals to get my 34 sales. Well, that sounds simple enough, but how do I get those leads? This tool tells us what we need, not how to get it. Now, if you're sitting there and you're measuring this out, you recognize that you need your 50,000, and you look at the top and you go, well, I need to generate 205 leads this year. So maybe from repeat clients and word of mouth, I'm getting 6 leads a month. That gets me part of the way there. But now I need another 12 a month. I need 18 a month to get me to where I need to be. So my shortfall on leads is 12 a month. I've got to figure out how to get those 12. You might have to do some advertising. Again, you might have to go to that marketing company or that expert. You might have to go to your coach. You may have to be a really good content generator on social media. You need to go to 4 networking events instead of 2. I don't know what it is, and you've got to work on that strategy. But if you use this as your guide, you'll know if the strategy you're employing is working, or more importantly, not working. If you track this and things are starting to go off the rails, you've got a month where you only brought in 5 leads, guess what? You're just seeing into the future because you're not going to get the proposals you need. And if you don't have those, you won't get the sales. And if you don't get the sales, you won't get the 50 grand. If you use this, track it, and actually follow through with looking at it and seeing where you are versus your goal, you can start to see when things are going off the rails again, and you can make a change. You can do something different. You can ultimately decide that, you know what, this is not for me. I'm not going to do it anymore. I don't want you to do that. And the best chance for you to continue to be successful in what you're doing is to measure it and follow through. This takes a little time to get perfect, but you've got the basics down. And if you've got the basics down, you start at the bottom, work your way to the top, and then start to fill that funnel. Again, I wish I could spend more time in this. I'm going to move on. How much time do I have, Susanna? I don't want to kill us.
We generally end around 5:30.
Around 5:30?
You have time.
Oh, yeah, we're doing good. Okay.
I did get a question when you were talking about avatars. What if you're just starting a business and don't have any clients yet? How do you start targeting an ideal client?
So that's a little bit tougher, and we need to get creative. We need to sit down and look at things that are complementary to what we do, the competition, the people that are selling products that are in a similar space to us. And look, I want to be honest and I want to build my own thing, but sometimes we need to stand on the shoulders of giants and take the examples of people that are doing things well and just adapt them a little bit to ourselves. There's nothing wrong with that. Unless you're stealing somebody's product or, going into their house and taking their sales list, you're just following an example. And that's where you need to start. Again, I recommend sitting down with a coach, somebody who's worked in your field or industry. They're going to be aware of some little tips and things that you wouldn't be just starting off. The types of, what would be a great referral partner for you? And it becomes an aha moment when they say, hey, you should be talking to this type of person. So reaching out to your network, reaching out to experts, and again, score is low impact on your wallet. I cost a little bit more. So you may want to start with them and they can steer you in the right direction. Once you've got about 6 months of data, then you can go back and start to refine it. The list that we have for Master Tech, we redo that just about every 12 to 16 months because we learn new things, we find out new things, the market changes. Um, you don't know what you don't know until you measure it. All right. Um, Customer type recognition. This one's kind of fun. Again, the experts are going to tell you that there's 7, 8, 9 different types of buyers out there. We are unsalespeople. We're going to keep it simple. We only need 3. So the 3 types of people that we're generally going to run into are the technical, the emotional, and the seemingly disinterested. So again, we've got a head start. If we're doing our client avatar correctly, these people are in our targets. These are the type of people who would be predisposed to work with the service that we have, go to the store that we open. Let's start with the technical. If I get in front of somebody who's technical, they're going to want to prove that they're smarter than me. They've got a Google degree in what I do. They've gone online, they've searched everything, and they're going to beat me up with what they know. They want to prove that I'm smart, and if I'm smart and I know what I'm talking about, they might hire me. If they can prove that they know more than I do, they don't trust me, and they're either going to do it themselves or find somebody else. Example. In the mold world, I constantly get people who say to me, hey, I'm just going to put some bleach on it. Bleach will kill it. And I'll tell you what, bleach is really, really good at hiding mold stains. And now what you've done is you've created invisible mold, super mold, if you will. It's still there, it can still affect you, but you can't see it. Bleach and bleach-based products are really good at removing stains, but they probably only kill 10 to 15% of the surface spores. So when a technical person says to me, yeah, I understand that bleach is really, really good, and I watched a YouTube video about it, and I say, that's cool. Listen, I don't want to insult this person. I don't want to, you know what, you're stupid. Bleach is no good. That's not going to help. I'm going to say, you know what, bleach is effective at stain removal. Bleach is effective at killing maybe 10 to 15% of the spores. But what we found, because we have to clear these sites to a lab standard, that when we test and only bleach has been used, there's still 85% of the spore load there. So we use different products to be more effective and get 100% clean. So what I've done is I've not insulted this guy, but I've also shown my worth and my technical ability, right? Here's where that curse of knowledge, being an expert in what I do, helps. I'm not turning this guy off by talking about the minutia of aspergillus spores and the different types of chemicals we use. I could talk about that all day. I love it. But most people go, ugh, and they fall asleep. The emotional buyer is next. If I start trying to sell the emotional buyer on the efficacy of antimicrobials on spores and the testing thereof, they're going to feel like I'm Danny DeVito back in the used car lot. The emotional buyer does not want to hear about the deep technical explanation of what I do. They're interested in a solution and they don't want to get ripped off. So between these two, I've got to start listening to what are the questions they're asking me. I'm going to ask a few questions myself to get an idea of what is concerning them, what they're interested in. And the answers I get are going to steer me in the direction of whether this is more of a technical person. 25% of the people out there are probably technical. Whether they're an emotional buyer, about 50% of the people out there are emotional. Or they're seemingly disinterested. Now, the seemingly disinterested they're like the cool kids of the buyer world. They are so resistant to sales. They've been sold to so many times that if they even catch a whiff of me selling, I'm dead to them. So we have to play hard to get. They may be interested, and that's why I say seemingly disinterested. They may be interested in what we have to sell, but they have to decide to buy. I can't convince them to sell. And that's a dance. So when we meet somebody at a networking event, when a customer comes in our store, when we get that nebulous call on the phone where somebody says, hi, do you sell X? Yeah, we do. Are you interested in buying X? Well, maybe. What can you tell me about it? I'm probably dealing with a technical or an emotional buyer, but I've got to suss out a little bit more. The seemingly disinterested, if he called, he's already going to have his questions, very specific, and he's going to move on, make a decision, or move away. If I meet them out in the wild, I've got to be a little bit distant, a little bit cool. At a networking event, if I meet this person who says, so you clean up mold? Yeah, clean up mold. Yeah, that's cool. I do this, I do that. All right, great. Let's talk a little bit about what you do. And if he keeps kind of circling back to it without getting too deep, I know they're kind of interested, but they're afraid that I'm going to pounce on them like a tiger. And I'm not going to do that. I may say, yeah, you know what? Do you know Nick over there? Yeah, I saw you talking to Nick. I did a job for Nick a few years ago. It turned out really well. He's a great guy. And I'm just going to drop that out. Now we know somebody in common. He may go over to Nick and find out that, yeah, Eric did work for him. It was pretty good. And, it worked out well. You're going to have to play hard to get. You're going to wait for them to come to you. You're going to come at it obliquely. You may be speaking to somebody else in their presence so they can hear you talking about your pitch. That's the way to deal with them. With the emotional, they're looking for that solution. Oh my God, I've got mold in my attic and everybody's telling me it's going to be $10 million and I just need to sell this house. Okay. Well, it's not going to be $10 million. I can tell you that. But I can come and look at it and I can check it out and I can tell you if it's mold that we can likely take care of it in 2 days. And, let's go from there. I know you got a closing date. Let's get this taken care of. And I'll either give you an estimate now if I can, or if not, I got to come out to your house and take a look at it. So we need to start with listening. We need to start with asking some probing questions that have to do with the situation they're facing. Once you get an idea of which lane they're going down, then you can kind of change the way that you're selling and talking to them so you meet the expectations. So many times people will feel if I'm the technical guy and what I think they're emotional, but they're technical. And they ask me a question and I said, no problem, we can take care of it in 2 days and I'll get there and I'll give you a 15% discount. I've lost that guy because I've tried to sell to him as an emotional client. If I try and, again, sell that emotional person with the big technical aspects of what I do and getting into the details, I'm going to turn them on. So this is really broad. This is really a broad base on the types of clients that are out there, but it gives you an idea of how important it is to recognize that client. One last thing on the seemingly disinterested, once they do decide to pick you, there is no more loyal a customer. They are bought in on you. So you didn't sell them, they decided to get you, and once they do, they will refer the heck out of you. So it may feel like you're wasting your time playing hard to get and just touching them once in a while, but it's worth the wait. Hopping ahead. Okay, guys, this is short sales process, and I think that's kind of a misnomer, but I didn't name this. This is really 4 questions that you need the answers to when you're dealing with a longer term sales cycle. Some of you guys are cash and carry. It's on the shelf, they come in, they give you money, they buy it, they walk away. There's not much of a chance to get to know somebody. But in many of our businesses, we need to get to know the client, we need to understand their challenges so we can provide the correct solution. So what are the questions? The questions are, we need to understand their goal. What is it they really are looking for? Do you have an idea of the product you want, the process, the service? Can they tell you, can they articulate, this is what I want? And you may have some people who will come in with a problem and they'll say, this is what we're experiencing and we don't know what to do about it. Okay. That's less likely nowadays. Again, with Google, people are able to search the answers to these questions so they come relatively prepared. But you give them some options, and once they can pick one and say, this is what I want to do, okay, now we understand the goal. Because if somebody just comes to you with a problem and you think you have the solution, that's a big turnoff. You need to understand, guys got to be on the same page. And that's really key in this sales process. The reward. What do they get if they get the thing that was the goal? What's the consequence? What do they lose? What do they not get if they don't get the thing that was the goal? And I'll give you an example. And finally, the obstacle. What's keeping them from purchasing the goal, pulling the trigger? So here's a dumb example. The goal is, I want a pony. Okay, cool. He wants a pony. So buy a pony. Why do you want a pony? Well, the reward to me would be all my friends have ponies. They ride around on ponies, and that's pretty cool. I'm tired of walking. They all have ponies, and I want a pony too. All right, I get it. What's the consequence? What happens if you don't get the pony? They're not going to hang out with me. My friends are going to be riding around on ponies. I'm going to be walking around like a schlub, and I'm going to be late everywhere, and I won't have a pony, and that's terrible. Okay. Obstacle. What's keeping you from buying this pony? Well, my house isn't big enough. I can't keep the pony in my room, Mom told me. So no pony for me. I've got nowhere to keep it, and I've also been told I can't keep it outside. Okay. We understand what they want. We understand why they want it. We understand what happens if they don't get it. The obstacle often is money. In this case, it's we've got no place to keep the pony. Sometimes it's we don't understand or we don't trust. And the mistake that salespeople make is the first one or two sales always turn out to be very similar, so we assume they're all the same. So when we get to the end and the client speaks about the obstacle, we always assume it's the one we heard before. We stop listening and we answer the money one. Well, listen, we've got a payment plan on that pony, so that should help you out. Because, but that's not my problem. My problem is I got no place to keep the pony. So we've got to listen. We've got to understand that obstacle. Well, you know what? There's a public stable down the street. I've got a coupon for that. You can keep him down the block, buy the pony. He'll be there. You're even going to feed him and brush him and cover him up at night. So there's the solution to your obstacle. Regardless of the business that you're in, you've got to understand this process. As a business coach, I had a gentleman approach me and say, hey, I heard you're a really good coach, and I just wanted to talk to you for a bit. And I would, sit down for a half hour. What's going on? Well, I run a medical practice, and we're struggling with billing. My agents aren't coding correctly. We're leaving money on the table with the insurance companies. We're billing our clients late, so we're losing money there. And I really need to get this system fixed. Okay, so that's my goal and reward all in one. And I recognize right away that I'm not the guy because I don't know how that works. I've never run a medical practice. I've never coached a medical practice. I need to refer this out. So I found this out early on. I've told the guy the truth and I've referred him. So now he's happy with me because I didn't lie to him. The guy I referred to is happy because I sent business his way and I'm better understanding what his needs are. He may come back to me later when there's something that I can do for him. But right now it's not a good fit. In the first month of business, when I was scared and nothing was going on, I might have lied and told the guy, yeah, I can figure that out and Google the heck out of it. But that would have been bad because it's a deep, dark pool and I probably would have made things worse. So this process, as long as you bring some honesty to it, is going to help you close some sales and turn some good people to where they need to be. That makes a lot of sense. All right, I'm going to jump into sales tips on the pandemic. We're going to wrap that up and then leave a lot of time for Q&A because I think we'll have a few. COVID-19, we're in a completely different world than we were 3 or 4 months ago. But we're not all, we didn't all die. Everything didn't explode. We're still here. We're still doing our thing. So a couple things that I'm recognizing in the world of franchise, in the world of home service, in the world of coaching and professional is what I want to share with you guys today. And the first tip is assume nothing. Don't assume anything. Don't assume you're going to get the sale. Don't assume you're not going to get the sale. Some people are business as usual. Some people are still quarantined to the hilt. It depends on their situations, what they've experienced. Some people have lost someone close to them in this. Some people believe it's a complete hoax. Some people are outside of territories where it's been a big deal. And it's all different. Ask the questions just as you would when you're trying to figure out what kind of client they are, emotional, technical, or seemingly disinterested. You ask some questions here. How you doing? Are you working from home? Is your office open? Don't assume that you're not going to get the sale. I've had some salespeople call me that I've been working with, and they started the conversation off by saying, I understand it's a different world and we're not going to do that sale. I just wanted to let you know I'm here. Okay, you just let me off the hook. I was going to buy it anyway because I still need it. The things that are important still stay the same. So if they're in a business that is still chugging, don't assume you don't have the sale. But you may have to go about it a different way. You may have to come at them digitally, or ship it, or meet outside at 6 feet with masks. But I'm willing to do that for a good client and a good sale. Here's one that's a little bit tough to handle, but may affect some of us. Is your business probably will come back. Whether you'll still be there and have weathered all this remains to be seen, and I hope you will. But some industries and some places may not come back, and you can't assume that you will. If you are a handshake trainer, you train people on how to give really good, hearty handshakes, you may want to look for something else. You're standing on a burning platform in the middle of a raging sea, and you're afraid to jump into that water, but it is safer to try it than to stand there and get burned. So if you're looking at the sales funnel from a couple back and you're seeing that thing dry at the top, it's dropping dust out the bottom. Let's use the tools, let's use the metrics, and let's make sure we see where we really are and be honest with ourselves. There's some worst case scenarios out there, and there's some good case scenarios. So don't let yourself fall either way. Measure as you go, and you're going to see a lot of both, but you may be able to navigate. The basics stay the same, even more so. We were always selling things based on profitability, comfort, sense of normalcy, efficiency, the ability to do the same things better. Those things still matter. What's changed are people's budgets and our ability to deliver those things. So it may change the sales cycle, but the actual value of these things stay the same. You don't need to revamp your entire sales pitch. You don't need to revamp all of your marketing. You need to address the changes that are here, incorporate them, and move on. Get good at video. Get good at video now. Don't wait, don't walk, run. If you're already on this Zoom video, you're like most of us, you're getting a crash course in this. Zoom is the 600-pound gorilla, but there are other options out there. And if you've just been attending, you haven't been hosting or running meetings for your clients, practice. Make your spouse and kids join a meeting that you put together and practice. Practice getting in front of that screen. Comb your hair. Make sure you take up 75% of the screen. Make sure that it's not tilted up so we're looking up your nose. Make sure that your head doesn't look like a coconut sitting at the bottom of the panel. You want to be centered. You can practice this. It's just like practicing your handshake in that dead art. This is our new handshake, and how we present here is a little bit different. We don't have to wear pants. We do need to make sure that the rest of us is looking good. Practice. There are some options out there. Like I said, Zoom is big. Google has a free option that they've revamped. They've had it forever, but now it's called Google Meet. Microsoft Teams, Join.me. There are dozens more. A lot of them have free services, so try a few out and have the clients downloaded to your machine. So if a potential customer is using something that you don't typically use, you're ready to go. Yep, I've got Google Meet. I've got Microsoft Teams. Yeah, sure, I can meet you there. Again, same problem, different space. The things that we learn as a client in the client avatar are applicable here. We may not be going and knocking on as many doors. We may not be going and seeing people in person, although we probably will be again. Make no doubt. We need to get better in that digital space. So if you haven't posted to your Facebook company page since 2018, post a few. If your LinkedIn profile still has the job you had 5 years ago, time to update it. Spend a little time on getting your stuff tight and branded, because people are interested in you, and if they check you out, they don't want to see 10 inches of dust. They want to see that you are active and available. Consult with an expert. We're going into some uncharted territory. Again, SCORE is a good resource. Business coaches are a good resource. Marketing agencies and marketing experts are a great resource. They know this space. They've been playing in this space. They can tell you how to make the conversion on some of your more traditional advertising and marketing and reaching out ways, and put it into a digital venue. Last thing, this is specifically for business owners. Protect yourselves. We are in such a rush to get back to work And some of you guys are quite sure that this is a real disease, and some of you are not. Whether you believe it or not doesn't really matter. It matters whether your clients and employees do. And if they believe it, and they believe you are acting in a way that is unsafe, you've either gotten them sick or you've gotten yourself sued. If you don't believe in COVID, that's fine. You are going to believe in liability insurance. So take some steps. Again, maybe meet with the insurance side of your business, some of the people there, and talk to them about what are the things that you can do to make it a safe place when you do go back to work. Even as simple as processes of, the one ways, everybody wash your hands, no more than 2 people in this room, 6 foot, social distancing, masks, nothing super expensive. I mean, you can go ahead and put up that plexiglass stuff if it works, but have something. Something is better than nothing. So when you are standing in front of a mediator in 16 months, you can say, no, we took steps. We took steps to protect the people that worked here. All right.
Eric, before you go on, there's a couple of questions here on the Q&A box.
Yeah.
One is from Lauren, and she's asking if you can go back and describe the emotional buyer. She missed the description, and quite frankly, I kind of missed it too. So can you go back and take a look at that? And then we have another question after that.
Okay, so the emotional buyer is, I guess emotional is a little bit of a misnomer. The emotional buyer is looking for a solution to their problem with minimal intervention on their part, and they don't want to pay too much. Nobody wants to pay too much. Nobody's saying, I'm looking for a service and I've got all this extra money I want to use. That's not happening, but it is important to an emotional buyer. They want to feel trust. And the way they feel trust is how you handle them and how you speak to them, and all of the things that we've all been working on for a long time to build trust. Referrals online, referrals from people that they know. Your attitude, the way that you treat them. If you call them on time, if you show up on time, if your store is open when you say it's going to, that's going to build some trust. If you listen to their questions and ask them without getting too typical, that's going to help the emotional buyer's trust. Listen, in the contracting world, the number one thing that people are afraid of with contractors and home services, carpet cleaners, HVAC guys, electricians, plumbers, they're afraid that somebody's going to come in the house, pretend that something's wrong, fix something that's not broken, charge them $1,000, and that they're getting screwed. It's about trust. So what they want is they want the pipe to stop leaking, and they want to feel like you are their expert. Okay, so let me explain it to you briefly. Let me give you the top points of what's going on here, and we're going to move on. Okay, so you can ask me all the questions that you have. I'm not going to spend a half hour going into the difference between copper and plastic pipe. I'm just your plumber. I'm here to make it stop. So that's kind of the example I can give you there. Another way to look at it is your emotional buyer is what most people think is your standard buyer, who's not your technical and not your seemingly disinterested. I hope that helps.
Great, thank you. And I'm not sure that this next question is for sales, but and if you don't have an answer, that's fine. We can always address this in another webinar, but we're being asked, what advice do you have for hiring A players during COVID? You have any words to say on that, or should we table that for another webinar?
So yeah, a big part of my coaching practice is recruiting and hiring. And we've been doing that for about 8 years now with the person on my team. So it's tough. It's going to change soon. What we're competing with right now are folks who are afraid to go outside because they may die. And that's a pretty big incentive. And we're also competing with a fairly liberal unemployment system with a $600 federal kicker. So we're competing with the equivalent of people that could be making almost $61,000 a year on the equivalent of $61,000 a year on unemployment. So if I'm offering you 19 bucks an hour to come out of that, and that's a bad deal. That said, the A players, the guys that are a really great part of your team, the people that are looking ahead, are seeing that end of July, that $600 kicker is gone. At the end of July, the marketplace is going to be flooded with people looking to get back into the workforce, and it's going to upend everything right now. So I do hiring in Morris County. In February, the top 10 hirers in Morris County were who you'd expect: Verizon, Atlantic Health, the big tech and recruiting firms, pharma. In April, the number one recruiter in Morris County was Eric Green, Next Level Operations. And as much as I love to see my name in lights, that's some scary stuff. I was the number one recruiter in Morris County in April. That shouldn't be, because I was only hiring 3, maybe 4 people. So we went from having 27,000 active job seekers in February to less than 6,000 in that county in the course of 3 months. Now that's going to come back the other way, but this process is long term. Whether you're hiring A players in a down market, an up market, in a high unemployment or low unemployment, it is a long and slow process. Like anything else, you need to have a plan. You need to make sure that you multi-step filter your potential applicants to make sure that they align with not only the things you want them to do, but the culture and core values of your company. You want a long-term fit. You want somebody who's going to be a rock star for you long-term. Not only do you have to pay them a wage and give them some goals, you got to make this a place that they want to go. And one of the big things that we're finding right now is that remote work is huge. I can't be a remote worker if I have to go to your house, but in many places, especially the tech and the creative sectors, business support services, we don't need to go into an office. And that's a big incentive. So that's the one tip I can give you guys right now. If you're able to give a player flexibility, some home work, some flex work, and not have to come into a workspace, at least for the foreseeable future, it might be a big step towards them joining your team. You good there? Can
I think so.
All right. Okay, guys. Here's the last review of what we went over, and then when I put this up there, you can jump to any section and ask any questions that you want. We never wanted to be in sales. Sales is icky. At least that's how we felt. Or is it? We've got to get out from under that sense of being that used car salesman. We have to be the solution. We have to be just the expert in our field. We got to reset that perspective, and we got to be aware of the curse of knowledge. The curse of knowledge is you knowing too much about what you know so much about and assuming that everybody else does. We're not as smart as you. We don't know what you know about your product and service. So if you dazzle us with details, you're going to turn us off, or we're just not, you're going to assume we know and not explain the little things that you think everybody knows. Who is our ideal client? Create that avatar. Remember the example of Dunkin' Donut and Starbucks? These are 2 clients that have perfectly crafted their client avatars in our marketplace, so much so that we all knew it and didn't know that we knew it. Plan before you sell. Create that funnel, create that sales funnel, find out what you need to drop out the bottom, and then back into it every step of the way so you can get to the very top and know what you need to drop in so the money drops out. Recognize your client types, use questions, and know when to play hard to get. Simple sales process. I want a pony, and why do I want a pony? Face-to-face is getting tougher, although it is coming back. Pandemics and lockdowns will be likely again, and we have to continue to support our businesses and our marketplaces in tough economies. For many of us, you may have done it during the crash in '87. You may have done it after 9/11. You may have done it after 2008, and we're going to do it again now. One thing we're getting good at is recognizing black swan events, adapting, and overcoming. And that's, listen, I rushed through a lot because I thought I'd have less time, but if you guys have any questions, I'm more than open to anything you have.
So I have a question. as a new startup, how to come up with avatars when you don't have any customers, you don't have a top 10 and you don't have a bottom 10.
So we'll jump back to that. I think really it's going to be looking at somebody that does something similar to what you do. And if you're a 100% new innovator and you've created a widget that nobody else has, it's going to be tough, but we can step back to the last time somebody created that widget. You're going to have to spend some time working with a team. This is probably sitting in a conference room with a coach and a marketing person and a Sharpie and kind of going over some scenarios and playing them out. Unfortunately, you're at the beginning, so we either need to borrow knowledge from somebody else or we need to take our best guesses. And the best guesses are going to come from some of these coaches over here, like Marty and Susanna and Nancy, and they're going to point you in the right direction. It's all A/B testing. You try one, and if that works, awesome. Let's keep doing that. And then we make a change and see if it's better or worse. If it's a little bit better, we keep doing that. And little by little, we build this engine that can.
Can I build on that?
Please.
Everything you said is absolutely right, but sometimes we also do what we might call voice of the customer or potential customer. So to your point, Eric, you could call up folks that you think would be a potential customer and take them through your idea or your concept, realizing that you are divulging some information. Another key point is you can do SurveyMonkey, and it doesn't cost you anything, and you can put 10 questions out there to some of the folks that you feel might be interested in your product or the service that you're offering and get some really nice feedback. So there's a qualitative look at this, and there's, I guess, 10 questions to 50 people could be considered quantitative. But I just want you to know that a lot of it is just, you know, getting out there and like he said, just try it. And working with consultants is one thing to get some good ideas because they typically work across a lot of different industries, but also lean into who you think could be your target and get some information directly from them.
Great point.
Great. So I'm getting more questions. One is, how do you feel about cold calls? You have identified your target, built or acquired a list, and how do you reach them first?
So cold calls are tough. I know as a recipient of cold calls, it makes me want to rip out my hair and scream a lot. So unfortunately, it's also effective and it works well. And I guess it really depends on how you go about that. So when I'm hiring a inside salesperson or a territory rep who's going to be responsible for generating new business, we want them to be tenacious. We want them to have a thick skin. We want them to work the list and work the script and work the program, but also to be creative. And you know, if they're the boots on the ground and they're the ones talking to people, we want to hear feedback from them. If you have a very specific solution or process and you've really figured out your client avatar and aligned your call list or your visit list with that avatar, you've got a better chance, especially getting right to the point. Just lay it out there. Look, you may not care or you may care, but this is what we do. And if you do, we can talk more. I would respect that instead of the fake preamble of, hey, how are you doing? And get to the point, save my time. My time is precious.
That's great. I have a question. So if you're approaching a prospect, it's a great prospect, they seem to like what you have to offer, but they're not ready now. What is a good kind of general rule of thumb for following up with that person? You don't really want to walk away and assume that they're going to come to you when they're ready. They may have forgotten your name by that point, and you don't want to follow up with them every day or every week and just be a stalker. So do you prefer like a specific process for following up, kind of touching base with that person to see if they're ready yet?
I think it's important to have a regular follow-up. When we work with potential franchisees on the franchise side, that is a long sales cycle. And we'll meet somebody at a trade show. And they'll come and talk to us and say, man, that sounds really cool, but buying a franchise and changing your branding and learning a new system is a big deal. So that takes a while. And we just make sure that we reach out and we touch them on a regular schedule. Hey, can we put you on our email list just so we can keep you up to date with what's going on? We'll hit them on social media. And then personally, myself and my partner, Tom, we'll reach out to them every once in a while just via text. And we formed a little bit of relationship. Hey, man, I want to make sure your business is going well. Did you have any questions? How are things going? And if we hear, yeah, it's going great, and we really didn't need to do it, cool, congratulations, good for you. Who knows what the next 2 years will happen? And now I've just made a contact. So it can't be one and done. A lot of stuff where people aren't ready, we need to be top of mind when they are. And so many times, the only way to be top of mind when they are is to just kind of stay in front of their face without being too intrusive.
And how often, when you say like you reach back out on a regular basis, do you like once a month, every other month? Like, I guess it depends on what you do for a living as well, but just in general, do you have any?
In general, we're trying to toe that line and not being too intrusive, but being on top of them. So at first, the repetition is a little bit more regular. I'll reach out in a week. If I talk to them today, I'm going to reach out tomorrow. So it's going to be the very next day. And if I don't have anything back, then I'll wait a week. Then I'll do the very next week. Then I might wait 2 weeks. And then eventually it'll get down to, I'm just putting you into my once every month or two follow. This way I'm not a stack of stuff you hate in your inbox or in your voicemail. But you get reminded every once in a while, yeah, you know what, I should call that.
Great. And for the follow-up, do you use a specific program or CRM? Do you use like Salesforce or HubSpot or anything like that?
I've used a couple different CRMs, Dynamic CRM, Salesforce. I have used Zoho. There are some really good things on the back ends of websites. So if you've got a website on WordPress or I'm trying to remember something like Squarespace and some of the others, they've got some plugins that do that as well. And then there's also your email drip campaign tools. Constant Contact and MailChimp have some really good systems. They do a lot of the hard work for you, but you've got to make sure that you've got a clean list of people who really are okay with you contacting them. With MailChimp and Constant Contact, if you get too many unsubs or people reporting you as spam, it will shut you down in a heartbeat.
Perfect, thank you. Any more questions out there? Al said thank you to Eric. I thought this was great. I loved it.
Thank you.
Any thoughts on consultant versus marketing agency? Not sure what that means.
Oh, in terms of who would we go to first? In this case, guys, I'm going to recommend you start with a score coach.
I would too.
As a business coach, oftentimes I spend my time referring people to experts who know more than I do. And because of the position I'm in, I'm able to do that. So if I can help you, it's easier and it's quicker. But if I can't, I can get you in contact with the person who can.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And so thank you for spending the time with us. I think we all learned a lot. And I'm so glad we have this recorded. So we're going to bring that back to Marty to close us out. Oh, Marty, you have to unmute yourself. There we go.
Eric, thank you very much. Very helpful. I spent a career in sales, and everything was appropriate, especially for the situation we find ourselves in. For everybody else, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Next steps is continue to educate yourself. We have a webinar next week that it talks about podcasts. It's on Wednesday the 24th at 4 o'clock. So please join us and find yourself a mentor. If you go to the site, fill out that application, and you will be contacted. I failed to tell you that. Now I don't know where most people are calling in from New Jersey. We have 40 mentors in our chapter, and there are probably 350 or 400 mentors in the state of New Jersey. So we're here to help. It's easy, and again, it's all all free, pro bono work, and we love to help out. So please reach out to us. So everybody else, good night, have a good evening, and enjoy it.
Thanks, guys.